The United States is currently engaged in a massive air and naval war against Iran. Yet the president recently threatened military strikes against an entirely different target, a peaceful Arab ally. During a May 27th cabinet meeting, Donald Trump delivered a blunt ultimatum. He told reporters that a specific Gulf state must behave, or the U.S. military would blow them up. The target of that threat was Oman, a nation of 5.3 million people that has historically maintained strict neutrality in a volatile region. Washington's sudden aggression centers on a stretch of water shared by both Oman and Iran, the Strait of Hormuz. This topographical map shows the most critical maritime choke point on Earth. Before the 2026 war, roughly 20.9 million barrels of oil and 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas squeezed through this exact spot every single day. The entire global energy market relies on a passage that is incredibly narrow. At its tightest point, the distance between the Iranian and Omani coastlines is just 34 kilometers, or about 21 miles. Since the U.S. and Israel launched strikes on February 28th, Iran has largely blocked that narrow passage, triggering a worldwide fuel crisis, multiplying shipping insurance premiums 6 times and sending Asian markets into panic. This 21-mile gap has transformed from a vital trade artery into a global lever, where a regional dispute can instantly halt a quarter of the world's seaborne oil trade. What triggered the president's anger were rumors broadcast on Iranian state television, claiming Tehran and Muscat were drafting an agreement to jointly manage traffic through the blockaded strait. This map, released by the IRGC, illustrates a massive maritime zone where Tehran claims total authority. The proposed line of control cuts deep into Omani and Emirati waters, stretching from Keshem Island in the west to Mount Mubarak in the east. Under international maritime law, charging tolls on a natural strait is illegal. To bypass this, Iran proposed a loophole, charging commercial vessels fees for services like waste disposal and maintenance. To collect these fees, Tehran established a new entity called the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, effectively creating a wartime revenue generator. If Iran successfully dresses its military blockade in administrative clothing and secures diplomatic cover from an Arab neighbor like Oman, it normalizes the extortion of global trade. Why would Oman, a long-standing U.S. ally, entertain diplomatic talks with Iran in the middle of a hot war? Under leaders like Foreign Minister Saeed Badr al-Busaidi, Muscat practices a philosophy of active neutrality, positioning itself as the Switzerland of the Middle East. Muscat and Tehran share a geographical border and deep historical trade ties. Because Oman's population follows the Abadi sect of Islam, the country lacks the intense Sunni Shia sectarian sears that drive policy in neighboring Gulf states. But Iran also holds violent leverage. In the early stages of the 2026 conflict, Iranian drones directly struck Omani port cities, a clear warning from Tehran not to assist the United States. Economically, Oman is in a highly unusual position. Because its major ports are located safely outside the Persian Gulf, they bypass the Hormuz blockade entirely. Since the war began, Omani ports have seen a 117% increase in the exports they handle for other Gulf countries. This delicate balancing act recently led Foreign Minister al-Busaidi to publicly criticize U.S. policy, arguing that blindly following Israel's goal to overthrow the Iranian government will ultimately hurt long-term regional stability. Oman is caught in a geopolitical vice. On one side is an aggressive neighbor fully capable of destroying its cities. On the other is an impatient superpower demanding total compliance. The threat to bomb Oman stands in stark contrast to historical reality. The United States and Oman have maintained continuous diplomatic and strategic ties since 1833. The U.S. and British militaries rely heavily on Omani geography. For decades, Oman has allowed the pre-positioning of U.S. Central Command equipment on Masira Island and grants the U.S. Navy formal access to major ports in Duke and Salalah. Threatening a vital ally risks alienating the broader Gulf Cooperation Council. While other Arab states have remained quieter than Oman, they secretly share Muscat's desire for a swiftly negotiated settlement to the conflict. This strategy forces Muscat into an impossible choice: either reject the deal, risk Iranian drone strikes, or face American bombs. International law experts and rights advocates have pointed out that demanding compliance through the explicit threat of military force resembles the extortion tactics of a mafia boss. Desperate to break Iran's grip on global energy, the United States risks undermining the regional trust it needs to navigate the war's aftermath. Clearing the waterway at the cost of these local partnerships may eventually prove more expensive than the oil itself.